Man, what a joke. Just what an absolute freaking joke of a performance by this Green Bay Packers football team here in week 9 to lose to the Carolina Panthers at home 16-13, now putting the Green Bay Packers at 5-2-1, and their only two losses on the year coming against Cleveland and Carolina, both of which at home, both of which just disgusting performances by this entire football team. So we have a lot to talk about today. On top of having a nasty loss here, the Packers also had a ton of injuries today that are going to affect this team moving forward. So we obviously got to talk about that as well. Overall, just offense, defense, special teams across the board. Poor performance. First want to give credit to Carolina. They went out and had a nice game plan in order to keep the Packers off the field, run the football, and in the end, kick a field goal for the win. So credit to them. But man, this Packers team, I feel like it's the tale of two different teams. Last week against the Steelers, our heads are super high. We just witnessed Jordan Love's possibly his best game of his career as a Green Bay Packer. We go into this week expecting similar results against a below average Carolina Panthers defense on Jordan Love's birthday. And we don't even get close to that. The offense today was absolutely disgusting. And I'm not the one to simply say outright fire Matt LaFleur, but something's got to change, right? Like, I don't think being 5-2-1, even as after an ugly loss like this, you still shouldn't fire your coach. But I think something's got to give, because in terms of the Packers play calling on this offense, it's simply not to the standard we need it to be at. And it seems like it's gotten so stale, so repetitive, so stagnant, where other teams can literally predict what the Packers are going to do in certain situations because Matt LaFleur loves to do certain things in those certain situations. It's gotten so stale. So, I'm not on the whole board of fire Matt LaFleur, as I know a lot of you probably are, and you have every right to think that. But I think something's got to change in terms of play calling. I don't really know what Adam Stenavich does for this offense. I wouldn't want him to play call either. But I don't know if Matt LaFleur is the long-term answer as a true play caller on this offense. I feel like a lot of his schemes and things that he likes to do were great 3-4 years ago and was new to the NFL, but now it's gotten all so stale and just boring. And it's just simply not working. And this whole mantra of wanting to be a run-first football team, I feel like at this rate, considering how poor their run blocking is just holding this offense back. Since we're on the topic of talking about the offense, I just first wanted to, give my thoughts on Matt LaFleur, because I know that's going to be a hot topic leaving this game. The Packers should still be at the top of the NFC North. I believe the Lions just lost to the Vikings. The Bears had a massive victory today over the Bengals. But I think the Packers, they're still at the top of the NFC North, 5-2-1. But man, there's a lot of nasty stuff coming out of this game. And sure, they might be at top of the NFC North right now. But if we're losing to teams like the Cleveland Browns and Carolina Panthers, what's going to happen next week when you play a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, or on Thanksgiving when you play the Lions yet again in Detroit, right? I think that's where a lot of our concern starts from. It's not that, okay, sure, they're at the top of the NFC North right now, but what happens down the line if the Packers are playing this type of football? Well, they're going to get wiped off the floor by a better team. And that's a big problem. So as for the Packers offense, Jordan Love with a just subpar game. I mean, still threw 273 yards, but the Packers were, 1 for 5 in the red zone. Just disgusting there. And 7.4 average. He had an interception that was one of his worst of his career, throwing it into triple coverage. It just seemed like a lot of the time the decision-making by Jordan Love today was just off the mark. That fourth down, throwing it cross body, trying to make a play. And Mike Jackson dropped the interception, which would have been a 103-yard pick six if he had caught that. I know a lot of people are looking at that going, why did Romeo Doubs give up on the play? Well, he was out of bounds. He physically couldn't go try to catch that ball or even touch the ball, or it would be a legal touching penalty, declined, and turnover on downs anyways. But what led up to that 4th and 8, where I think a lot of people think they should have taken the points anyways, and we'd be talking about an overtime game right now, is what led up to it. You had a 3rd and 3 and you throw yet another swing screen to Emmanuel Wilson that goes for -5 yards. I am sick and tired of all the screen passes. It's 3rd and 3. You have Josh Jacobs, even Emmanuel Wilson is a downhill runner. It's 3rd and 3, right? Running up the middle, maybe a gain a yard or two. Guess what? Now you still have 4th and 1, 4th and 2. That's much higher success rate than the 4th and 8 you went for anyways. Not to mention, when it was 4th and 8, the clock was stopped, and you took a timeout anyways to just run a who knows what play on 4th down where Love had to scramble drill and again try to make a play, something out of nothing. It's just overall the decision making by LaFleur in this game, what they did in certain situations just absolutely confused the hell out of me. Now, when you take a look at the Packers running game, from the box score, you would say, hey, they ran the ball pretty well. Like Josh Jacobs, 17 carries, 87 yards, 5.1 average. And that was because he did break off a couple big runs there. The Packers as a team ran 25 times, 104 yards, 4.2 average. But it felt like every single drive the Packers stalled, it was because they ran on 1st down and it gained 1 yard, 2 yard, or gained nothing or lost them yards. And they set themselves up with 2nd and long, which then inevitably gave them 3rd and long. And that's hard to convert in today's NFL, even though the Packers have been really good at converting 3rd downs. They definitely weren't today. And overall, they just weren't good at converting red zone appearances into actual touchdowns, right? And honestly, I think a lot of it falls down to play calling and also poor blocking by this offensive line. It felt like multiple times in this game, the blitz pickups by this Packers offensive line and running back group, including Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, was just atrocious. They had multiple free rushers coming up the A-gap multiple times in this game that absolutely blew up plays where the play was dead the moment the ball got in Jordan Love's hands. Now, obviously, a lot of injuries occurred in this game that halted this Packers offense from finding success. Tucker Kraft leaving early with that knee injury. I really hope this is nothing long-term because there's a direct correlation for when the Packers are feeding Tucker Kraft, this offense is clicking. And you saw that today. They really didn't involve him early, and the offense was struggling. Then he started to kind of get involved. Then, of course, unfortunately suffered that injury. Didn't return with that knee injury. So something to monitor going forward, of course. We also saw Matthew Golden check out with a shoulder injury. Tay Wicks was already out of this game, I believe, with that groin injury. Watson had to take a little bit of time off to go through concussion protocol. Aaron Banks left this game with a stinger and didn't return. And Sean Ryan had to replace him at left guard and I think had 2 penalties out of that spot. Elton Jenkins had penalties out of that center spot. He just really hasn't played well there. There's just so much going wrong. Like everything that could go wrong did go wrong for this Packers offense. Now, there was a couple bright spots on offense. The Packers relied heavily on Romeo Doubs. It seemed like every drive he was catching a clutch pass, whether that be a slant route or a quick stick route for a 1st down. He finished 7 receptions, 91 yards. And also Christian Watson, had that amazing deep catch early in this game. Only finished the game with 2 catches, but for 58 yards, that long of 52. We also saw a little glimpse of maybe some Luke Musgrave potential after Tucker Kraft checked out. He had 3 catches for 34 yards. But man, if Tucker Kraft is out for an extended period of time, I just don't know how this offense is going to function like they once did, because Tucker Kraft is such a huge part of the offense, not only in the receiving game, but the blocking game. And that's something that Luke Musgrave is absolutely atrocious at, is in the blocking game. He's a solid pass catching threat at that tight end spot, but in terms of the run game and just blocking overall, Musgrave has not been good at all this year. So there's not too much brightness from this offense coming out of this game. You start your first drive, you drive down and things look great, and then Savion Williams fumbles the football. And then from that point, I mean, it's just like pulling teeth to try to get into the end zone. They did late with Josh Jacobs, but again, it just felt like pulling teeth every single time that the Packers got anywhere near the end zone of the Carolina Panthers. Now I want to talk about the defense, but quickly before we do so, got to give a big shout out to this video's sponsor, Sleeper. Guys, link down in the description. If you want to make your picks for tonight's Sunday night football game, Seahawks versus Commanders, use code BASS when making a first-time deposit. That will get your deposit matched 100%. Up to $100. And right now they're offering a great promo where new users get a free $20 play with no deposit needed. That's an awesome promo they're running right now. Definitely go check out Sleeper and make your picks for the upcoming Sunday night football game. All right, so now for the Packers defense. When you look at the box score, the Carolina Panthers didn't do much on offense. Like, they had 265 total yards, 4.9 yards per play, 102 passing yards. Now, rushing, yes, they gashed us, and it did not look like the number 3 run defense in the NFL today, that's for sure. But in terms of total yards, yards per play, and passing, they all had a lower amount than the Green Bay Packers, yet still came out with a victory in this game. Bryce Young was 11 for 20, 102 yards, 5.1 average, an interception, and a 48.3 rating, yet still won this game. And that just perfectly encapsulates this Packers football team's performance today. Just absolutely disgusting that they still couldn't win a game with Bryce Young really doing nothing. And it was because the Panthers were able to run the ball and get into situations that were manageable, for that offense. And Rico Dowdle, who's had an excellent 2025 campaign right after Hubbard went down a few weeks ago, tore us a new one on in the run game. 25 carries, 130 yards, 5.2 average, 2 touchdowns. The Packers couldn't make a tackle on him. He was a patient runner. They were opening up running lanes with a banged up backup offensive line, and it just looked terrible. The Packers' run defense couldn't get home most of the time when it mattered. And more importantly, in the passing game, there was like zero pressure to talk about. Bryce Young got sacked once. I believe it was the Xavier McKinney strip sack where Quay Walker just gave up on that fumble. Outside of that, I think Parsons ended up with 0 pressures, which is the first time in his career. And that's just an absolute joke considering how banged up this offensive line is for the Panthers and how bad they've been this year so far. And no one stepped up and no one got and there was opportunity. It wasn't like Bryce Young was throwing the ball in 1 second every single time. A lot of times he was just sitting in the pocket or scrambling around, extending the play. And we had Packers defenders missing sacks or just getting barely a hand on him, but not finishing the tackle. And it's just nasty. In a game that I thought the Packers could probably walk out of here with 5 or 6 sacks and, 20 plus pressures. I don't know what the pressure number is going to be. Look out for the PFF video tomorrow, but it's going to be very, very low. And that's just not how you win football games with a defense with guys like Rashawn Gary, Micah Parsons, Devontae Wyatt. Like, it's got to be better. I don't have too many bright spots on the defense either. Xavier McKinney getting an interception, that's fine. 7 points allowed in the first half is good, but obviously when your offense is playing this poorly, it's clearly not good enough. But the minimal pass rush versus a bad offensive line, more Keyshawn Nixon penalties that extended a drive, which ended up in a Panthers touchdown. It feels like every single game there's a crucial 3rd or 4th down where Keyshawn Nixon is committing a penalty. And at this rate, I feel like the Packers have to go and make calls to add to this cornerback room. It's absolutely in shambles right now. They couldn't tackle today. I liked what I saw from Edgerrin Cooper, but, outside of that, there just wasn't much great today. Xavier McKinney, I would say, was the player of the day on defense. 9 total tackles, a sack, an interception. It was a great day by him. Edgerrin Cooper, 8 total tackles, and also Isaiah McDuffie. I feel like he continues to impress me in terms of, being on the field in pure running situations. Although the Panthers, ran the ball very well, it felt like the few times they did get stopped, it was at the hands of someone like Isaiah McDuffie. Now, there's also a couple injuries for the Packers defense. Colby Wooden left with a shoulder injury, didn't return, and it felt like the moment that happened, the Panthers could easily run the ball up the middle every single time, which is crazy to say because going into the season, if you were to tell me Colby Wooden would be the backbone of this run defense, I would laugh at you, but he really has been. He's been playing at a top level at that nose tackle spot, and the Packers simply just ran out of defensive tackles, it seemed, late in this game, and the Panthers easily just pushed the ball right up the middle. We also saw Nate Hobbs check out of the game. I don't know exactly what injury he had or if he returned, but overall just so many injuries today, which makes this loss that much worse. Then, of course, we have to talk about special teams. There was kind of some rumbling about, hey, why is Brandon McManus kicking? We need to go back to Lucas Haversick, who was perfect for us in 2 weeks, 10 for 10. And the same thing happened today. Brandon McManus missing a crucial field goal. Now, he finished the day 2 of 3, a long of 49. He hit the 1 extra point that honestly almost missed. But McManus is now 3 for 8 on the year outside of the red zone. Field goals farther than the 20-yard line, which is just not good enough. And what once was a kicker situation that really, we had no worries, and we didn't even have to like watch the kicks because we knew they were going in after the suffering years with Anders Carlson, Braden Narvison. Now we kind of find ourselves in another tricky situation in terms of the kicking situation. I mean, Lucas Haversick is still on the roster. He was inactive today. McManus returned from this quadricep injury last week. Clearly didn't seem like he was ready, yet they trot him back out there yet again this week, and it still seems like he's struggling. So I think at this rate, it's a fair argument to say, hey, maybe the Packers should just turn to Lucas Haversick, like keep both on the roster. But at this rate, it just doesn't seem like McManus is either A, healthy, or B, in the right headspace. Whereas Haversick has the Packers record for longest kick now at 61 and was quite literally perfect for us. Now, I know it was a very windy day and a tough day to kick out there, but when you have this situation, it just makes you think about it and go, hey, maybe we got to go back to Haversick. Let me know what you guys think. But yeah, just an absolutely disgusting team performance overall by this Packers football team. And now they take on the Philadelphia Eagles next week, Monday Night Football, staying in Lambeau. But the Eagles are rolling, and they're a lot better of a football team than the Carolina Panthers. But this Packers team is also, it kind of seems like they have two different identities, and maybe we get last week's Green Bay Packers team against the Philadelphia Eagles. But I think one thing is for sure. They're not a consistent football team right now, and they need to clean a lot up, especially on offense with the play calling. It just feels like they still don't really trust Jordan Love, but then you see him do things like throw into triple coverage, and you're like, yeah, you can't be doing that either. There's just a lot of messiness right now on this offense that just simply needs to get figured out. Maybe the potential return of Jaden Reed could help a lot of that. They need to get healthy. And if they just lost Tucker Kraft for a long period of time, I have a lot of concern going forward of what they're going to do to move the football in this offense. Because let's face it, they're not a simple run-heavy team like they were the past couple of years. It's not working. Like, yes, sure, Josh Jacobs averaged 5.1 today, and that's probably the best he's had this season. But that's also part of the point. Like, the run game has not been consistent enough this year to rely heavily on it. And then when we talk about the passing game, now you might not have Tucker Kraft. You still don't have Jaden Reed. Tay Wicks has been out. Not that he's been a factor, but man, it's just like you sit here and you wonder, what are they going to do? Considering they don't want to continue to involve Matthew Golden. I know he checked out with an injury today, but they just continue to really not give him too many looks. Almost called a deep one today. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what they would do in terms of game plan without Tucker Kraft on this offense. But yeah, guys, those are my instant thoughts and reactions for this nasty loss, 16-13 here in Week 9 over the Carolina Panthers, moving the Packers again to 5-2-1, still at the top of the NFC North. So at least, the Lions lost to the Vikings today, just to kind of help out our situation a little bit more. But there's a lot of concern now heading into Monday night next week against the Philadelphia Eagles. But I really appreciate you guys coming by to the video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like down below. And if you're stopping by for the first time and want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers this season, I'd highly suggest going down and hitting that subscribe button. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always,